contributory pension scheme was enacted in year 2004, it was for the workers of the federal government, with little exemption here and there. In 2014, the same bill was amended, making it compulsory for every state government to be part of this special pension scheme. Hello and welcome to Pension Matters, the program where we educate you, enlighten you, and inform you of all the happenings in the pension industry. My name is Princess Fabi Ibrahim, and I'm so glad to have you join us in today's episode of the program. Today, we'll be discussing the participation of state governments in the contributory pension scheme. For details of this and more, stay with us as the program will be back shortly.
Do you know there is a new pension scheme in Nigeria? It is mandatory, it is contributory, it is fully funded, based on individual retirement savings account. Under the supervision of the National Pensions Commission, the new pension scheme guarantees lifelong financial independence for every citizen of Nigeria in public or private employment. PENCOM says it's a new dawn. Call the National Pensions Commission now or log on to www.pencom.gov.ng for further details. PENCOM, your contribution counts.
Welcome back, and if you're just joining us, the program is Pension Matters. Today, we'll be looking at the participation of states in the contributory pension scheme. But before we do that, let's join Adanze to find out what is trailing in the pension industry. Ada, take it away.
Thank you very much, Princess. Hello viewers, welcome to Pension Trail, where we'll give you the latest updates and happenings in the pension industry. I am Adanze Okorocha. First, PENUP seeks common ground with investors. The Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria said those seeking to invest pension fund should come up with ventures that will benefit all parties. Mr. Ilonge, the President, Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria, is worried about the widening gap between the investors and pension operators. Mr. Longe says this because investors see the profit to make for themselves rather than what will benefit for all. In another development, PENUP may adopt Singapore's infrastructural investment templates. Mr. Dakpo Akinsanya, Head Technical Committee, Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria, PENUP, has affirmed that operators were exploring the possibility of Nigeria adopting the Singapore's infrastructural investment template. He said the attraction of the Singapore's template is based on the fact that after the review of other jurisdictions, the Singapore's template came out tops. He stressed that though operators are anxious to invest in infrastructure, they know they have to tread with cautions to ensure contributors' funds are not jeopardized. This is in line with the position of the chairman of PENUP, Mr. Ilonge, who has maintained that operators were ready to invest in pension funds in infrastructural projects, provided there were adequate measures to guarantee safety of the funds. To wrap it up on Pension Trail today, PFAs invest in securities. Responding to a recent unfounded rumor that the Pension Contributory Fund is laid in the bank idle, the Director General of the National Pension Commission, Mrs. Chinelo Anoho Amozo, says that the fund has been invested in accordance to the laid-down rules. Mrs. Anoho Amozo says that between October and November 2015, the total investment is 2.89 trillion naira and 2.95 trillion naira respectively, and 528.76 billion naira was put in government treasury bill in October and 480.26 billion naira in November same year. She further says that other sectors that the Commission has invested in are state government securities, real estate, corporate debt securities, local and foreign market securities, domestic and foreign ordinary shares. Well, viewers, this is the much we can take on Pension Trail today. Let's get back to Princess on Pension Matters.
Thank you very much, Adanze, for telling us what has been trailing in the pension industry this week. Viewers, here on to Pension Matters, and today we'll be discussing the participation of state governments in this contributory pension scheme. And to do that with me is Mrs. Grace Usoro. She's the head of Department of State Operations in National Pension Commission. Madam, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, my sister.
A lot of people have been itching to know what is going on with the contributory pension scheme in the States. And today we have you to throw more light to all this. First of all, what are the steps being taken by a state in order to implement this contributory pension scheme?
Thank you very much. Indeed, I'll be delighted to talk about this because I think we've arrived at such a time that the states need to be properly guided so that they would speedily enjoy the benefits of the contributory pension scheme. Right here at the National Pension Commission, we have realized the need to support the states in this direction. And that is one of the main reasons that the structures of the Commission have been realigned to further strengthen it to be able to support the states in implementing the contributory pension scheme. As with that in mind, we are having a situation where we have specific designated individuals to work with a state through the process of implementing the contributory pension scheme. The first step really a state needs to do is to enact the contributory pension law in the state. And in doing that, there is need for that law to be aligned with the Pension Reform Act 2014. The National Pension Commission has also gone ahead to craft a draft law that a state just simply needs to adopt. And that draft law has factored in all the specific features that will enjoy or ensure that the state maximizes the benefits of the contributory pension scheme for its citizenry. So all a state needs to do is take the draft pension law and present it to its assembly, State House of Assembly, and enact it as a pension law, which will drive the process of implementing the contributory pension scheme. After the law is enacted, we encourage the state to do what they call verification, because the contributory pension scheme is for the benefits of the citizens of the state, the workers in the state.
Exactly.
Yes, so they need to first of all give a face to the individuals that should benefit from this scheme. So we encourage them to do a verification. Let them know who are these beneficiaries of the scheme. So they would take their details, take their biometrics. That in itself will also assist the state to clean up its payroll. When once that is done, what they need to do next is to ensure that the employees go to PFAs of their choice and open retirement savings accounts. The retirement savings account is just like a bank account.
Exactly.
It is into that account the state government will now remit the contributions
of the
individual into the retirement savings account. Like I said, we are working with the states. We have positioned ourselves to work with the states to ensure that this happens. So, in liaising with such a state that is in the process of implementing the contributory pension scheme, we would receive from the states the list of all their ministries, departments, and agencies called MDAs.
Yes.
And we would now configure our database to ensure that the MDAs are registered so that the individuals working in those various MDAs will find it easy to register with the pension fund administrators. So that is something we have to work with the states to get. The next thing we encourage the state to do is to do an actuarial valuation. The fact that the state is adopting the contributory pension scheme does not mean that the benefits the individual earned when he was not under the contributory pension scheme should be forfeited.
Exactly,
no,
yeah.
he still has to enjoy that pension. So that is why we would say to the state, you need to appoint a qualified actuary to carry out an actuarial valuation for the employees, and that will help the state to identify and quantify the pension entitlements of these employees from the time they started working in the state government up to the time they are implementing the contributory pension scheme. And that is called the accrued rights. So the state will be able to know what the accrued rights of the individuals would be. With that accrued rights, you see, the beautiful thing about the contributory pension scheme is the state government will not be required to put the entire accrued rights or provide cash backing or funding for the accrued rights.
Really?
Yes. They are allowed to do it installmentally.
Oh, great.
Periodically. Just like you have in the national law, which says that the federal government will set aside a certain percentage of its monthly wage bill towards payment of these accrued rights. The states also have that privilege
to do that.
of, yes, installmentally setting aside money to meet these accrued rights. We encourage the states to either open an account with the central bank of Nigeria. Maybe each of the states of the federation has a central bank office in their state's capital.
Yes,
so we encourage them to either open a dedicated account with the central bank at the state capital or with a pension fund custodian. Because we find that a lot of states, when they open their accounts with the central bank, they complain that the returns are low. Because, of course, the central bank will invest those funds at treasury bill rates. But if the funds are with the pension fund custodians, they would have that competitive edge for more higher returns. So we allow the states that flexibility to either open the account with a pension fund custodian or with the Central Bank of Nigeria. When that is done, they are ready to commence contributions. All they need to do now is to deduct the contributions from their employees' salary, 8% as prescribed by the law.
Yes.
And then the state government will also provide a counterpart contribution of 10%. Yes. And then on a monthly basis, they would remit that to the retirement savings account that the individual has opened with a pension fund administrator.
This is very interesting.
Yes. And then, of course, the law gives the individual employee that benefit of having the employer open a group life insurance policy to ensure that should anything happen to the employee during his working life, maybe untimely death, etc., etc., the family of the individual is not at a disadvantage.
Indemnified.
Yes, so the state should take out a group life insurance policy for its employees that guarantees 300%
of their
earnings. Annual earnings.
This is getting very interesting. In fact, you are throwing a lot of light. We'll take a short break now. So when we come back, we'll take us to more steps. Viewers, the program is Pension Matters, and I've been discussing with Mrs. Grace Usoro of National Pension Commission. She's been telling us the steps every state that wants to become part of this contributory pension scheme must follow to make sure things go well the way it is done and prescribed by the regulator, that is the National Pension Commission, PENCOM. After this break, she'll give us more. Don't go away.
Do you know there is a new pension scheme in Nigeria? It is mandatory, it is contributory, it is fully funded, based on individual retirement savings account. Under the supervision of the National Pensions Commission, the new pension scheme guarantees lifelong financial independence for every citizen of Nigeria in public or private employment. PENCOM says it's a new dawn. Call the National Pensions Commission now or log on to www.pencom.gov.ng for further details. PENCOM, your contribution counts.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Pension Matters, and we have Mrs. Grace Usoro in our studio, and she's the head of State's Operation Department of the National Pension Commission. Madam, before the break, you were giving us steps every state that want to be part of this contributory pension scheme must take, and it was getting interesting. Can you give us more?
Before we went to on break, I was talking about the fact that a state government needed to do the group life insurance for its
And it's compulsory.
employees. It's compulsory.
Great.
Because that is one of the key features of the contributory pension scheme. You see, the contributory pension scheme actually seeks to empower the individual employee, take the authority from the employer and vest it in the individual. It's a security that the individual has earned and deserves to enjoy. Okay. So with the group life insurance, if the employee happens to maybe pass on during his working life, the state government would be required, okay, to activate the insurance policy, and the insurance company would pay the employee's estate 300% of his annual emolument
As compensation.
as compensation.
In payment of the premium for this policy, will the worker, the employer and employees contribute money to pay the premium?
Absolutely not.
Oh, great.
That is a responsibility the employer, and in this case the state government, must take on.
Good.
Yes, the employer is supposed to pay the premium to the insurance company, which guarantees a 300% cover. Yes, it's the employee does not have any business making contributions.
So what more step do we have?
Yeah, and the next step is to work very closely with the National Pension Commission, the designated officers at the National Pension Commission, to ensure that the contributory pension scheme is implemented. Now, in all these things, there is need for the state government to establish a designated office. We call it a state pension bureau.
Okay.
And the work of the State Pension Bureau would be to coordinate all the activities of the state government in pension matters. They should have a section that deals with this set of pensioners who are under the old scheme, and then another section that is solely devoted to the implementation of the contributory pension scheme. So we have set out broad guidelines on how the state pension bureaus should be established in terms of the administrative structure, in terms of IT requirements, and all that. We realize that with the very nature of pension is retail in nature.
Exactly.
We cannot achieve much if we do not use IT platforms to drive the process. So we're bringing in the state governments. Every state that is adopting the contributory pension scheme, at the minimum, should have such IT structures that would enable it interface with the activities in the commission, as it will be required to send monthly returns on various aspects of the activities in the states to the commission. Now, in doing all this, the beautiful thing is that we have officers of the commission that are experienced in giving the various state governments support, technical support, in ensuring that all the structures are put in place.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I feel like allowing you to go on and on and on because
Yes.
I'm enjoying it.
Thank you.
But due to time, I think we'll call it a day to day, but I will bring you on this program in 3 weeks in a row so that you'll be able to explain all these points to our viewers, because our viewers are itching to know all these things you've mentioned now.
Thank
so,
you.
Mrs. Solo, thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank
Be ready
you,
for me
madam.
next week again.
Okay, I'm yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Viewers, the program has been Pension Matters, and I've been discussing with the head of State Operations Department of the National Pension Commission, Mrs. Grace Usoro. She's been able to tell us the steps each state that want to become part of this laudable pension scheme in Nigeria must take to make sure that they work in line with the guidelines of the National Pension Commission. She also went further to tell us the challenges she has experienced in going around the states. Well, it's time for pension education, and Mr. Patrick is standing by.
Thank you very much, Princess. Hello, viewers. Welcome to this week's Pension Education segment. We're glad to have you around. This week, we shall be commencing another series and discussing about the 5 major team players within the contributory pension scheme. We're talking about the employee, the employer, the pension fund administrators, the pension fund custodians, and also the National Pension Commission, which is the regulator of the industry. For this series, we shall commence with the employee, their roles, and what is expected of them as they participate within the contributory pension scheme. The employee is one of the major stakeholders of the industry, and without them, there will be no fund to be managed by the pension fund administrator, or even fund or activities to be regulated by the regulator, the National Pension Commission. An employee is one who is within a paid employment, and by the provision of the Pension Reform Act 2014, the employee has a major stake within the pension industry. The employee is expected to be paid a pension on a monthly basis, and this is done through the retirement savings account of either PFA of his or her choice. Now, once you have been employed, it is expected that you approach your HR department or whatever department that is responsible for your documentation. It is there that you are given the option to select which PFA you would like to be your pension fund administrator. Once you have fulfilled the required forms and submitted to the pension fund administrator, a personal identification number will be generated and forwarded to either your email or to your phone. This in turn is what you will provide to your employer, and it is expected that your monthly pension deductions be remitted by your employer into the retirement savings account, which you have provided or referred to as a PIN. Now, should this not be funded on monthly basis, the employee has the mandate to approach the regulator, which is the National Pension Commission, directly, either by writing or by even paying the office, paying a visit to the office physically to discuss with any of the customer section or the customer relations of the Pension Commission in order to get the right directive or direction to approach such lapses from the employer. And once this is addressed, it is expected that the Pension Commission call to order the defaulting employer, and all outstanding remittances that are actually due to the employee is remitted into the retirement savings account of the employee. By this, the employee is also, he or she is contributing her own quota in the pension contributory scheme. Thank you very much. God bless you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick, for that wonderful pension education. I'm sure our viewers been able to learn one or two things from that pension education segment. Viewers, on that note, we come to the end of our program for today. That's our package of pension matters for this week. We do hope you will join us next week when we bring you another exciting episode of the program where we educate you, enlighten you, and inform you about the happenings in the pension industry. Until then, I remain yours, Princess Rabi Ibrahim, and urging you to enjoy your weekend.